Hello, and welcome to the Freedom Challenge online podcast. Here at the Freedom Challenge, we strive to do good by helping enslaved women and children to do more than you ever thought physically possible, and to do it together by connecting women with a heart for a hurting world. We hope you enjoy your time being informed and encouraged with host Tracy Daugherty and our amazing guests. So let's get ready and join Tracy for this week's episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Freedom Challenge online podcast. This is your host, Tracy Daugherty, the director of the Freedom Challenge. The Freedom Challenge is a movement of passionate women who participate in physical challenges that test our limits while raising funds and awareness to set women and children on a pathway to freedom. We are disrupting the cycles of oppression and poverty that can lead to human trafficking. On this episode, we are celebrating and honoring Mother's Day, and we're highlighting two very amazing mother-daughter duos who were a part of the Kilimanjaro anniversary climb in 2022. And we have, through the years, many women who have brought their daughters or granddaughters, intergenerational mother-daughter teams. And so we thought it would be a perfect time to have a conversation with two wonderful ladies. And I'm sure that this will be worth a listen and might even inspire you to consider how you would bring the women in your life, whether it be a sister, a mother, or a daughter. So with that, without further ado, I want to welcome and bring in our friends, Julie and Gabby. So would you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your life and where you're calling in from?
I'm Gabby. I am the middle child and youngest daughter of 11 siblings, so a pretty big family. And I'm currently finishing my second year of medical school right now in Great Falls, Montana. And I'm very honored to be with you guys tonight and be able to share mine and my mom's Freedom Challenge story with you guys.
And I'm Julie, Gabby's mom, for 27 years, I might add. I'm here in the Napa Valley where I work and live. I live with my husband, and we have 7 adult children and 2 grandchildren. And I work I'm a physician. I'm the medical director at a very large veterans home in the state of California here in the Napa Valley. So I'm excited to be here as well. And I'm excited to be able to see Gabby because she's all the way in Montana. So
I love it. And one thing that's remarkable about the both of you is you're actually following, I don't know if you're following in your mother's footsteps, but you're passionate about becoming a physician. And so maybe just speak into a little bit about, how did you decide, yes, I'm doing this? And how did your mom inspire you? And just give us a little behind the scenes on that.
Yeah, I would be lying to say that my mom didn't inspire me to go into this field, because it's definitely a big undertaking, medical school just in itself, and then of course everything that follows. But I think also just when I was younger, I had a few medical things that happened. That's probably a story for a different time, but that also definitely was a pretty big factor, pushing me more and more down this path. And I think just being able to watch my mom see how this profession is really just very impactful, and you can see that. I saw that every day through her work and what she shared with me, and I saw that she has a very lasting impact on her patients as well as just other people she works with, and that's something that I would love to be able to emulate. So
I love that story. Julie, how do you feel about that? What's it like watching Gabby walk this out?
yeah, I mean, I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her. Okay, I'm not going to be the one that's breaking up already here.
I love it. We wouldn't have a mother-daughter podcast if we
I
weren't
know.
crying, Julie. Bring it
I mean,
on.
it is. I'm very proud of her and all the work that she's doing, and just to kind of watch what she's doing and remember what I went through and knowing. I mean, I feel like she makes it look easy, actually. I don't know how she makes it look so easy because I know how hard it is. So,
Yeah.
but she's doing really well, and I just have this really strong sense that she's right where God has wanted her to be all along, and she's just being very faithful to the calling, and I think it's I just can't wait to see what He has planned for her down the road.
So amazing. Okay, we're here not just to talk about Mother's Day and honor mother-daughter teams at the Freedom Challenge, but I really want to hear about your journey. How did you get connected to the Freedom Challenge? How did you arrive at your yes? Share about that, and then you doing it together, which is quite remarkable.
In high school, I would say this journey kind of started for me, where I developed a really deep burden for fighting against human trafficking. I think I was really drawn to it initially when I all of a sudden got interested in doing a mission trip. You know, that brings you into this world, this like other world that we don't live in, of course, and we start to see all the devastating sides of the world that are out there that it's easy to kind of shut off. So I think being exposed to all that in high school really kind of pulled me into the situation of human trafficking. And so I sensed the Lord was planting a seed in my heart. And as a high school student preparing to enter college, that I already had so much on my plate, and I wasn't exactly sure how or when that I was going to be able to start and step into this calling. And then it wasn't until after the first year of my undergraduate studies that the opportunity reemerged. And my mom mentioned the upcoming 10-year anniversary climb of Kilimanjaro. And that was planning to happen in the fall. And so in that moment, I felt a clear and powerful tug on my heart. And I knew that it was God speaking, telling me that this was the moment. And sorry.
I love it. Tears are welcome, Gabby.
And this was the time that He had for me, and He placed in front of me, and He was like, you got this. This is it. And so I had just graduated undergrad, and I was in the midst of applying for med school through a Navy scholarship. And I was fully aware that my life was about to get even more demanding. And so somehow that timing for Kilimanjaro just felt very perfect. And it just aligned perfectly. And I knew that I had to start this journey up again.
You know what I love about that, Gabby, is how there was a seed planted in your heart preceding this opportunity. And over the years, it was sort of watered with longing and talking about, and other women sharing their experiences. And there was this moment where you're like, something's flourishing in my heart, and I'm stepping into that. I actually remember when you said your yes. What I remember is so much joy that you were stepping into this. And I also remember feeling the tiniest bit of like, whoa, I better start training. This girl is getting ready. And that was just a memory that popped in my head when you were talking. And then when your mom joined, so Julie, maybe you share a little bit about how you got exposed to the Freedom Challenge, and then you arrived saying yes, knowing that your daughter was coming, and what all of that looked like for you.
I think the anniversary challenge came when she was at UCSD, and it was, I think, around the same time that we had the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
the first date that y'all put on the calendar. And she, through our church, we just learned about the Freedom Challenge then. We learned about the anniversary climb. And she had to put it out of her head because at first she couldn't do it because she was so busy with her undergraduate work. And then, of course, COVID-19 hit and nobody could do it. So it went into a holding pattern.
Do it.
Yeah. And then I think, when it came back on the calendar, so to speak, all of a sudden I had this strong desire, and I didn't think about Gabby initially. At first, it was like, you've got to be a part of this. And of course, your first thought is, how can I be a part of something? There's no way I'm climbing Kilimanjaro. There's no way. How am I going to climb Kilimanjaro? And I was talking to my husband about it. I hadn't talked to Gabby about it yet, but it was like, oh, maybe this is an opportunity to get in shape. Maybe just get to be the strongest that I've been ever. And, it just felt really right that God had put this on my heart, but I didn't have the whole puzzle together. And then as soon as I got connected with Gabby again, we must have just been on a phone call. And I was like, I'm going to, that Freedom Challenge is doing their Kilimanjaro climb. I'm going to do it. What do you think about me doing it? And then she got all excited. And then her excitement just kind of flipped a switch in me and was like, I know what you're doing, God. I know what you're doing. You set me up to remind Gabby. Gabby's the one that's supposed to climb, right? It's not me. And all of a sudden I felt like released that I didn't have to actually climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
This is such a great story. And what I want to reflect on with you ladies, and for those that are listening, is that over and over again, I hear stories like that, where either two friends or a mom and a daughter or an individual person hear about something from a friend or a peer or a podcast or an advertisement, and there's just this awakening in their heart. And there's this moment in time where people go, this is my time. And so for everyone listening, I encourage you, if you have that longing to participate in a Freedom Challenge, to have your steps matter, your prayers heard, your advocacy for women and children, and the time doesn't feel right, just kind of hold that open, that space open, continuing to interact for that moment in time where this one is my time. I mean, I really feel like every season there's a story like that, and I like you bringing us into that journey. And so what's interesting, and I'll bring us into the next question, is that with the Freedom Challenge, not only do we, we challenge ourselves, we are, raising funds and awareness, we also are praying. We're praying intentionally. And we have such a value to have prayer surrounding all that we do in this space, especially because it's so rooted in darkness, so rooted in spiritual warfare, we would call, where the enemy's idea, his intellectual property, is human trafficking and enslavement. This was his idea from the very beginning and continues to be one of the main strategies to cause humanity to be locked down. So prayer is a huge part of that. And the prayer team is a part of the whole team. So now, Julie, you brought the idea to Gabby. So she said yes to climbing, but then you joined on the prayer team. So I'm interested in hearing about how that dynamic was, prayer team, hiking, and maybe even you throw in a favorite memory that you have together. How did it tie your relationship together? Was there friction, tension, or was there just joy constantly? Let's hear about it.
Well, I think because I don't think you initially told me, Mom, that you were joining the prayer team until like after I made my decision. And so hearing that you were coming to Africa with me was a huge relief for me, because I was like, this is big travel thing for me to do. I've gone overseas before, but I was definitely nervous about doing this alone. So I think that I was very grateful to hear that you were coming. I was very excited for the both of us, for sure, because I knew that we were going to be doing both very large feats, I guess, things that we've never done before. So I think I was also just excited to see what was going to come out of that, for my mom as well. And I'll let her share. And then I want to say my favorite memory, because I think that's...
Yeah, it's true. I didn't actually, I kind of released it when Gabby said she wanted to go. And for a while, I just kind of sat back and I helped brainstorm with her, but I kind of just sat back and watched her, do what she almost thought was the impossible, which was fundraise for not only what it cost to go on the trip, but also the fundraising for, for the cause, because everyone is asked to fundraise. That's the whole point of it. And, I think there were a couple times where she was like, I don't know how I'm going to get all this money together, and I just kept saying, you're in the right place. You're doing the right thing. This is what's supposed to happen. It's somehow going to come together. And she had so many great ideas. And I was just kind of enjoying all that for the longest time. And then at one point, it was her sister who said, Mom, you're going, aren't you? And you can't send her to Africa without you. And I was like, she kind of smacked me in the face through the phone, wake up. And so that's when I just kind of started talking to different people. And Kelly, it was Kelly at church that said, you need to talk to Ruth. They have a prayer team in country, because I was talking like, I'm going to be there somehow, some way. I'm going to be there, but I didn't know exactly how. And I didn't realize there was a prayer team, because I wasn't really involved with your meetings and whatnot. And then I talked to Ruth for a couple of times, and it was like, this does sound like where I'm supposed to go, where I'm supposed to be. So, I made the decision towards the end of all the planning that I would be part of the prayer team and get to be there with Gabby. And that was just awesome. So.
Yeah, I think that particular challenge, we had hundreds of people on the virtual challenge praying. All of you ladies, I feel like there was like maybe 6 of you, 7 of you, something like that were on site praying. And we kind of take this praying seriously. I liken it to walking out into a battlefield with no armory to go into these spaces without a proper prayer team around you. So I was so grateful, Julie, to have you there, and mindful of all of the dynamics of waiting and wondering how everything was going. If I remember, we had some glitches on our communication and there was lots of long pauses. I can imagine that drove everyone deep into really trusting and praying. Okay, let's talk about some favorite memories together that you have, either individually, but also how that impacted your relationship as mom-daughter.
I mean, it was climbing Kilimanjaro, week-long experience. I had so many memories that I can reflect on, but I would say one of the most meaningful memories was actually when we were finishing the climb, and we were like literally at the finish line, and
coming down the trail, Gabby was in the front. She was right in the front.
Oh, of course. And it was called the something gate. It's escaped my mind.
Oh,
it was called a gate. I don't remember exactly.
Yes, she was right in the front, though. It was such a great sight to see.
Yeah, well, about 100 yards away, I could just see my mom just like rejoicing, and that was honestly just such a relief. And I just felt so much peace in that instance. And then we finally, of course, got to reach each other and had a huge hug. And I just felt just such a deep connection in that moment. Because I think going back to what I said earlier, like, I know that even though we were not very far apart, we were just completely on different treks,
Yes.
both literally and figuratively. And I know that we both had gone through so much, and there was so much to share with each other, and it was a really good experience. Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's so much. We got up early that morning, and the plan was to just really intensely pray in our little prayer room before leaving to drive to the gate, which was a good 45-minute drive. So, we wanted to be at the gate when y'all came through for sure. So, it worked out. We got there a little bit early, and we were thrilled that you hadn't come through yet. And, we watched a lot of people, smaller groups come through, ones, twos, threes, fours, nobody more than four people came through from all the other groups that were ahead of you. And there was just so much excitement in the air there. It was so cool to be there because everybody was just, there was just such, I mean, they weren't all there for Freedom Challenge, of course, but just that idea of finishing such an almost impossible feat, was the energy was so awesome there. And, but what was better than any of that was hearing you before seeing you. We heard you all with your loud chants, and you could not be in that area without turning your head and looking and seeing what is coming down the path. And it was like this huge group of women just overjoyed by what they were doing, and all the people that were with you, your team, all these, what do they call them, Sherpas?
Mm-hmm.
And just that energy was, I mean, everybody rejoiced, and a lot of people there didn't know what it was all about, So, and just being able I mean, Gabby's right. I mean, we both, I mean, I don't know, what were we, about 100 miles from each other when we were in Arusha?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was, worlds away from her.
Well, she was on the roof of Africa. So really, truly, really the distance was much farther because like what Gabby, not for bragging rights, but yay. Like, is it 19,420 feet? Something like that. Yes. And our gate is the Marunga Gate, I believe. Does that sound familiar? It's the Marunga Gate or the Mawika Gate. I'm not sure. You think it was the Mawika Gate?
Yeah, Maweka. I think it was Maweka.
The
Is how they
Mawika
say it.
Gate. All right, we solved the mystery.
No, it was crazy how I'm going to be right there, and I felt like I was going to be so I could just really feel her, but I could not feel her all week in that physical sense. She was obviously physically too far away from me, but even spiritually, it was just for me. So, I mean, my favorite moment was getting to see her at the end of it all. But the work leading up to that, I know for both of us, just had profound impact on that connection that we made at that moment because we did both go through our own thing. And
Yeah.
I think, I went to bed the night before y'all started the peak, Uhuru Peak. And well, I tried to go to bed, but I didn't sleep very well. We had a great, kind of an international online prayer group meeting, which was it was so great. All these people came on from really all over the world, and it was a wonderful experience to hear all these people that were praying for all of us in countries, especially the walkers, the hikers. And after that, I just did have a hard time sleeping, but I finally did fall asleep and had several hours of good sleep. And then the goal was to wake up early, and I did, to try to join everyone. But I honestly, I turned on some worship music while I was getting dressed, and something overcame me that I couldn't really move. It was so, and I think it was about the same time you guys were summiting, because I was supposed to be in the prayer room praying over your summit, and I was having my own issues of just every emotion you could possibly think of. I mean, from fear to death to anxiety to just, it was all really scary emotions that were just kind of coming up out of me. I don't know where they were coming from, and it just brought this flood of emotion and tears, and there was no way I could leave my room. I was just blubbering. I was a blubbering idiot. And but at all the same time, it felt so good to be a blubbering idiot at that moment. It felt so good to just I just knew that that's what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to release all of that and get rid of all of that and let it go. And I just kept hearing from him, trust me, trust me, trust me. I've got this. I always have, and I always will. I've got this. Some of it was focused directly on Gabby. A lot of it was focused directly on Gabby, and especially the time when she was 13 and she got diagnosed with a brain tumor and had to undergo brain surgery and radiation, and it was pretty crazy time of our lives. She's actually a St. Jude for Life patient, so St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we love it, in Memphis, Tennessee, and that time period was just so hard for me. And I realized at that moment of the summit, that I never really completely grieved that situation with her, and I think it was kind of a release, and it allowed me to grieve that situation with her, and that, because I kept thinking that maybe she was going to die, and I kept saying she's not going to die. She's just climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. That she's not going to. So it was crazy. So when she came off the mountain, to see her was just a big full circle, and
yes. You both have the same favorite memory, which means that it's just like an epic moment where God. Sometimes these embodied experiences are like living parables for our lives, for the women, the mothers and daughters who are in a position where they feel powerless in the areas that we talked about, oppression and poverty, human trafficking, and how interesting it is as we step into those moments, how God is doing something in us. He's doing something through us. He's doing something for others through us. All of these other, like you said it earlier, I don't think we mentioned it yet, but the multi-layers of an actual freedom challenge. I mean, you were praying and grieving, and God was using that to cleanse you from, the situation with Gabby from when she was younger. And thank you for vulnerably sharing that. And Gabby was victorious, doing something that you would never have imagined at a 13, 14-year-old girl summiting a mountain like that. And Gabby, we could not cry because crying was just too much energy and tears might freeze on our face. So I'm pretty sure you were all giving them for us, because I actually remember one moment someone said something that kind of made me laugh, and I just looked at them like, There's no room for laughing at this height. I can barely even, can't even muster it. But I just love this moment in time the two of you had where God's faithfulness, where the overcoming, where the life of what he's done, what he's going to do. And Gabby, I think about you and how God quite likely prepared you for this journey you're on with medical school, becoming a doctor, one of probably the most rigorous times spiritually, physically, mentally that you will encounter. But I wonder if you ever look back and say, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I got this. I mean, like, do you ever see like parallels in that?
Yeah, I definitely do. And sometimes like nonchalantly it gets brought up that I was able to summit Mount Kilimanjaro, and people definitely like have to do a double take because they're like, wait, what? Because it's easy when you're doing it, not to think about how big it all
Yeah.
is, I guess. I'm not sure
Yes.
if that's making sense. And I think that's kind of very relates to this experience I'm going through with medical school, and just how
Mm-hmm.
being in it, it's easy to, well, it's not easy, but it's a lot of faith, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So there's very similar in that aspect where it's a lot
Yeah.
of faith and prayer and
Yeah.
trust that he's gonna,
Yeah.
you're on his path, and he has you in his heart. And
That's good.
yeah.
Muscle memory and doing challenging things is
Mm.
such a big thing. Like it really is. Really, really is. So, one of our last questions is going to be, how did this experience shape your worldview? How has it impacted or transformed and ignited your heart? This Freedom Challenge mother daughter experience.
But so now when people ask me where, if you could go, you guys probably get asked this question, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? And my answer is, sorry, is Tanzania, Africa, because it just really was a life-changing experience to get to go there and meet all the local people, who were just so warm and welcoming, and they were just genuinely grateful for our presence, and that we just wanted to journey to their home. And so that really left a lasting impact on me. And of course, being able to see all the beautiful wildlife and land was just breathtaking. And
Breathtaking.
I did learn a lot, of course, on that journey. And one of them was that, if, when you step out of your comfort zone, that's where God meets you with something truly extraordinary. And sometimes the
Yeah.
most beautiful experiences are waiting on that other side. So,
Gabby, how angelic were our porters and our leaders? Were they just not like in the moment of such intense desperation, their support and their kindness was like otherworldly? Do you ever say in your mind at medical skill, pole, pole? Do you ever say it to yourself? And if you
no.
don't, maybe you can pull that one back out when
Yes.
your mind has to go faster than your body can take you. You can say, pole, Gabby.
Yes.
Slowly,
Yes.
slowly, sippy, sippy.
Right.
It's such good little reminders.
It was.
How about you, Julie? How have you been impacted, inspired, your worldview shaped from this experience?
It's so easy to get wrapped up in the craziness of our culture's worldview of life, and it's been really wonderful kind of refocusing on this experience, because I think what I take away from it is just the power of prayer for me, and the power of prayer when you are in a situation that you cannot control at all. And especially if you're a control freak, which I sort of am. So that the power of prayer, the power of really trusting in Him and in His timing and his baby steps to do something that seems impossible. And what you all did is it's an impossible thing. It really is. I mean, climbing that mountain to me it's impossible. and just to watch you all do that and do it with such grace and to just get through it, it's one step at a time. And with the subject of human trafficking, it really reflects the same thing. I mean, God He wants us to trust Him and to focus on Him and to listen to Him. And I think everybody really needs to do that. And it's not like it's big and overwhelming, especially if you try to grasp it in your own self. It's such an overwhelming topic. People usually want to turn right off and stop talking about it because it seems impossible to fight it. But I think we have to trust Him, and we have to go one step at a time. And we have to start right where we're at, which is our own backyard, and just keep our eyes open to ways that He's trying to use everyone at some point. And I think it's easy to miss it if you're not staying connected with Him through prayer. So I'm just I've always believed in the power of prayer, but the last couple of years of my life have been really helped me to solidify the power of prayer. And I say I had to go all the way to Africa to really be convinced.
Well, it sounds like Jesus came all the way from heaven to convince us that He was the connector to the Father. So going places, it really does emulate like the incarnation, Jesus going. And so when we go, we just receive a little bit more of Him and life. Okay, final thought here, ladies. For all the listeners who are going to hear this during this Mother's Day season and might even see the promo code that's coming out for this year's challenge for moms and daughters or sisters and friends or all of those kinds of things, and be like, that pause where you go, is this my time? How would you encourage them to step into this with a loved one?
You have to just jump in. That's what you have to do. You have to, if you're feeling a sense, don't talk about it too much. Just grab that feeling that the Lord is putting inside of you and trust Him and jump in faith, and everything will work itself out and you will not regret it.
That's great. How about you, Gabby? What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I would say absolutely do a challenge with a loved one. It definitely deepened my faith and trust in the Lord, but I think it also profoundly strengthened my relationship with my mom, and just being able to witness how God moved in her heart throughout her trek through prayer really opened my eyes to how God works. And as I would say I'm still very young in my faith as well as my age. And so until Killy, I've never fully grasped God's transformative works, and that it continues throughout our entire lives. And so being able to watch my mom walk with the Lord and evolve in her faith as well was just very meaningful for me, getting to see that. And it was truly an unforgettable journey with her. And I'm so blessed to be able to experience it, to have experienced it side by side with her. So.
Well said. And I'll throw into my 2 cents. About 4 years ago, I did a challenge with my daughter, and it was horrifying as a mom to see her descending deeply into the Grand Canyon with a big backpack on. And there were moments I had to say, okay, put your Freedom Challenge hat back on, not your mother hat. And it was beautiful, epic experience for the two of us, for mission, for bonding, all of those things. So listeners, from the witness of two ladies and myself, I'm sure my daughter, if she was here, she would say the same thing. Consider that little nudge from the Holy Spirit as you hear this and as you learn more about this promo code and opportunity for the Adirondack Challenge. Ladies, thank you for being here tonight and crying together, doing a little laughing and reminiscing. I feel like, it's hardly a podcast for the Freedom Challenge without some good tears going, especially as we remember the remarkable things that God has done in us and through us. I appreciate you being here. And thank you for sharing this time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us. I feel like we never got to sit down, Mom, and just like talk about these big points, so being able to do it even years later was good. Thank you.
It takes a podcast sometimes for us to process.
Yeah.
And for the rest of you listening, please, as you learn more about this, consider bringing a loved one to challenge yourself, to pray intentionally, to give generously, maybe supporting someone who is going on a challenge this year. And our next upcoming event is the Adirondack Challenge, which is September 17th through 18th. There are places to hike and opportunities to pray, and be looking for that Mother's Day promo. And until next time, let's do good by helping enslaved women and children do more than you ever thought physically possible, like we just heard about. And do it together, maybe with a mama, a sister, but another woman, to connect with those who have a heart for a hurting world. God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom Challenge online podcast. If you liked what you heard, join the fight to set women and children on a pathway to freedom across the globe. We are a proud ministry of Operation Mobilization USA and encourage you to learn more at thefreedomchallenge.com and omusa.org for how you can get involved. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram at the FCUSA, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to let us know what you think. We'll see you next time.